so for this video over Part 4 exponent rules on your exit exam review, I'm going to do every question with you. Once you see the exponent rules, I think they will come back to you, but some of us were having some questions in class the other day. So I'm actually going to start, I'm going to go in a different order here. I'm going to start with number 2 and then come back to the ones with negative exponents. We're going to start with number 2. What we have here in number 2, there are no plus signs and no subtraction. All you need to do is multiply to combine these together. If you don't like the parentheses, then you can rewrite it without the parentheses. But all when we multiply here with exponents, we take it one term or one variable at a time. So I'm going to start by looking at the numbers, 12 and negative 4. 12 times negative 4 is negative 48, so that's what you put down. Then you look at the t's. I have t to the 5th and t to the 4th. Well, I'll show you the long way real quick, and then you'll remember the rule. If I'm taking t to the 5th times t to the 4th, well, t to the 5th is 5t's times 4t's, and when you multiply all those together, you get 9t's, which is t to the 9th. The rule is when you multiply variables with the same base for exponents, you add the exponents together. 5 plus 4 is 9. Now here for n to the 7th and n to the 0, 7 plus 0 is 7. And one thing to remember, anything to the 0 power equals 1. So that's really n to the 7th times 1, which is just n to the 7th. And that would be your final answer for number 2. Let's also go to number 3. Okay, there's two ways to do this, and I'll show you both. The first one would be that you could think about what we did when we would have terms like x plus 2 the quantity squared, and how we would rewrite those out as a quantity by itself. So technically that's what you're doing here. We are taking 3w to the 4th, y to the 25th, times 3w to the 4th, y to the 25th. And you can multiply those that way, just like number 2. All right, and you would get 3 times 3 is 9, 4 plus 4 is w to the 8th, y to the 50th. And that is a perfectly fine way to do that problem. That's the correct answer. That's one method. The other method for number 3 would be to do what I call distributing the exponents. So you would make every term here get an exponent of 2. So you'd have 3 squared times w to the 4th squared times y to the 25th squared. And what you would remember is that 3 squared is 9. When I have power to a power here, 4 squared and 25 squared, I multiply those exponents. 4 times 2 is 8. 25 times 2 is 50. And notice you end up getting the exact same answer. So it does not matter what method you use, whether you distribute the exponent and use power to a power, or whether you rewrite the quantity and then multiply them together. You will get the same answer. Do whatever method works best for you. All right, coming down to number 4, I'm combining both number 2 and number 3. So I'm going to distribute the exponent of 2 here. That's what I'm going to do. And then multiply them together. But again, if you want to write negative 4x squared y to the 0 twice, and then multiply together, that is totally fine. When I take negative 4 squared, do not write negative 16. Remember that any number squared is always positive. So negative 4, the quantity squared, is positive 16. X squared squared is x to the 4th. I multiply the 2 and the 4 together. And y to the 0 squared is y to the 0, because 0 times 2 is 0. All right, now remember, if you need to write this out as negative 4 squared times x squared squared times y to the 0 squared in order to see how you're doing this, how you're multiplying, go ahead and do that. All right, we're going to take that times 3xy to the negative 2. Now, once we're at this point, I'm going to go back like number 2 and just multiply the numbers together, the x's and then the y's. So the numbers multiplied together here, 16 times 3 is 48. The x's multiplied together, we'll have x to the 4th and x to the 1st. add those up to be x to the 5th, and my y's I'll have y to the 0, and 0 plus negative 2, or 0 minus 2 is negative 2. Now the directions say write all exponents as positive. We do not like negative exponents. Now I can give you this whole little story about how Mr. Y lives in a fraction house and he doesn't like where he lives because his exponent is negative. Remember, this is a fraction all over 1 right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the y to the negative 2 to the denominator of the fraction. And when we do that, the exponent becomes positive. So what you actually have here is, in our fraction, I move the y to the bottom, and it becomes y to the positive second. And everything else has a positive exponent already. The 48 has a positive exponent of 1. The x is a positive exponent. So we keep them in the numerator, and this is our most simplified answer. Now that we've talked a little bit about negative exponents, let's go back to number 1 really quick and deal with this negative exponent. So number 1 has 2x to the negative third and 6x. All right, so when we have a fraction, we are going to have negative exponents here. But when we have a fraction, the negative exponent, we're good. Let's divide the coefficients, 2 over 6. 2 over 6 is 1 over 3 when I simplify it. So I go ahead and divide divide the numbers just like we normally do. Here with the x's, when I have a fraction with x's, I actually have to subtract the x values. We'll see that again in number 5 and number 6. So here I have negative 3 minus 1. There's a 1 on the x in the denominator. Well, negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. So, all right, x, and I subtract it from the top, so I'm going to leave it on the numerator, 1x to the negative 4th. Well, just like number 4, I don't like the negative exponent, so I need to move that down to the denominator to sit next to the 3. The 1 stays put because it has a positive exponent. The 3 stays put because it has a positive exponent, and it'll be x to the positive 4. Number 5, start the same way. Simplify the numbers by dividing. 12 over 28, well, 4 goes into both of those, so it would be 3 over 7. The r's, I'm going to take 4 minus 7, which is negative 3. I'm going to write that in the numerator to start, and then we'll move everything. And then the t's, well, I have negative 8 minus 3, which is negative 11. So I have t to the negative 11. Both variables end up having negative exponents. So what I'm going to do is move both the variables, not the 3, to the denominator. So we'll have 3 over 7, r to the positive third, t to the positive 11. And that's your final answer there. All right, let's finish up here with number 6. First, I need to distribute the squared to every term in the numerator. I cannot subtract exponents for the fraction until I simplify the numerator. So what the numerator becomes is negative 5 squared is positive 25. X to the 6th squared, well, I multiply 6 and 2, which is x to the 12th, and then y to the 10th. And that's all going to go over the same denominator. Now let's simplify the way we just did. So our new fraction, let's simplify the numbers, 25 over 10. 5 goes into both, which will be 5 over 2. For the x's, 12 minus 2, which is 10. And then for the y's, I have 10 minus 20, which is negative 10. This time, the only variable that needs to move that has a negative exponent is going to be the y. So we will have 5x to the 10th, those both stay put, over 2y to the positive 10. And that is your answer. If you need more help with exponent rules, see your teacher. They can make some up for you or give you some extra practice worksheets. This is actually going to be our next unit, is doing some things with exponents, but you need to know these basics in general. They should be somewhere hiding in your brain.